Just wanted to provide a quick bit of context before the voiceover here on the video. Basically, on the video, I've got some League of Legends and some World of Tanks at the end, while I commentate over basically about this film I watched, and I really wanted to get my views out there. And just tell me what you think about the film if you do go see it. But I do hope you enjoy the video in the background. If you're not really interested in the commentary, you can just mute it. The World of Tanks clip at the end does have a bit of gaming commentary at the end if you want to watch that. But yeah, this video is really about the film that I watched the previous night, and I really do hope you watch it. It was a really good film. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video and the commentary, and do let me know what you think, and if you want more of these. Great, thank you, and have a nice day. Welcome to this video. We're doing something different today. I thought I'd talk about this film that I watched last night. I know it's not your traditional gaming stuff. So basically, this film was called The Iron Sky. It's like a modern day drone film and the realities behind it. Because while I was watching the film, basically it was a whole argument of how drones should be used and whether it should be used. And the casualties, the human casualties resulted in the fact, and the whole plot behind the film was that one little African girl prevented a Hellfire missile being deployed on a building full of a couple of the most wanted people in East Africa. And basically the whole argument is, should that life be ignored? Should that little girl's life be ignored? And while I was watching it, I got to be honest with you guys, and I thought I was following the conventional argument of the greater good, in the sense that use these sort of fight and forget missiles and just blow the building despite the human casualty. But I don't know, after watching the film, I think my opinion sort of changed, or the outlook on it changed quite drastically. Well, not drastically, I would say, because my opinion still would remain the same. However, I do believe it has become more clouded at the time. Well, it became more clouded during the end. While I was watching it, it was like, at the start it was very cut and dry for me. Most wanted people in the house, just blow the place and, forget about it. But then the film sort of humanizes the enemy. I mean, the drone pilots actually have a visual on who they are going to kill, or who are they going to seriously injure or change their life forever. But it just shows us some pictures of her playing, having fun. She's totally innocent, by the way. She's only 8 or 9 years old if you guys haven't seen the film. But it sort of humanizes her, and we sort of, get an attachment towards her. And I think that sort of changes, the film really does it well on how it sort of relationship between us and the character, and therefore it we suddenly feel a bit more clouded by the use of this drone. But then again, if you do look at the film, does also depict a good way of showing the costs of humanizing the enemy like this, because trying to get this one woman out and save her life has cost a lot. It's risked a spy who was also on the ground. I would also recommend you guys seeing the video before watching this video. But the spy on the ground has to endanger himself to try and get that young woman out. And even when he does, things go horribly wrong. And he is chased off by the guards there. So he's put his life in risk for this one little girl. And maybe it's the fact that it's a little girl that sort of also assists with humanizing her and making us feel more attached to her. But I don't know, in my opinion, the reason my opinion just stayed the same, in the fact that we shouldn't, the life of one young little girl shouldn't matter when a suicide bomb is very likely to be deployed in a heavily populated area. It's the great question of, should it matter? And the actors also say that they haven't had a gathering like this in 7 or 8 years, in which time, in fact, a couple of suicide bombs might have gone off in that time, if the opportunity was missed. So that's why my reasons stayed the same. Plus, You know, the spy had to risk his life, and then he ended up risking a young boy's life just to try and get the girl out of there. And it's like, how many lives are we willing to put at risk in order to save or minimize human casualties? But that being said, after watching the film, I was, after watching it, the ending just clarifies the who were the ones to help the family of the lost girl. It was basically the enemy, just helping her, getting her to the hospital, trying to get her basic care and needs doing for her, not the Western allies. So who do you think, in fact, that the family's going to support in the end, you know? Know that they killed most wanted, like the 2 or 3 most wanted people in East Africa. Was it worth the risk of creating another, potentially now, the family's dad? Because the girl died in the end, due to the drone missile. So now is that the father and mother going to become the new most wanted people because they are now emotionally invested into fighting against the West? But because they probably, you know, on one hand, in that point you can argue that the family's to blame. I mean, why was the dad in contact with such dangerous people and such fanatics? But on the other hand, you can argue that if the suicide vests did go off and they didn't bomb the building, then it would have been... I like the argument they made about the propaganda, basically. How if the suicide vests do go off, the propaganda is good for the Western allies. However, it's the whole question of, do those 80 or 90 lives matter if that suicide vest goes off? With killing these drones, the propaganda, again, would be not very good for the US if the missile was deployed, which in the end it was, and I still agree with it, even though it did cost the young girls her life. But it was in the politics anyway of it all. It was more like the chain of command, how a lot of politicians didn't want to make the final say and say, yes, go ahead, go, do it. Especially the people who were read in on the mission, or who understood that a little girl might die. Because basically when it went to the, I think it was the foreign secretary who was in the table tennis arena, he had no clue on how the mission was going, or he was read in, but he didn't understand the human casualties. He just saw the enemy and says, kill enemy. And I feel like, yeah, the film just really does well in, in making and showing that when you actually see the pictures, it's easy for me to say from a third party perspective to be like, yeah, just bomb them, kill the most wanted people, protect ourselves. But when you put a picture to that, it sort of clouds your judgment. And that's why I understand the drone pilots when he was like, he can literally see the person he's going to kill. Like, he literally is sort of like a god figure to her, in the sense that he can control when she dies. And that's why it was commendable by the pilot, even though it went totally against the movie, or the sort of like the job title of him of just to fire the missile when he's told, when he's ordered to. And it just that's why I really recommend you guys watch this film. Honestly, it's one of those films where it makes you think at the end of this film. It makes you think, what if? And it's I don't know, after watching it I just really felt I should talk about it. It was struck home to think about how the usage of these weapons are not to be taken for granted. If it was me, I would say the use of drones should be, like how they were doing, like how they were portrayed in the film, in the sense that there should be multiple confirmations, sort of like a high authoritative figure to say, yes, we can do it. However, I do think the film, one thing it does badly is, well, not badly I should say, but it is a multi-government operation. You got the US, you got the UK involved, and you got the Kenyan Secret Service involved. And it sort of clouds the politics of it all, of like who really is in fact in charge, because you're going to need yes from the British government, and you're going to need a yes from the American government in order to use these weapons. And I feel like I don't know if that's how it's actually done in real life, or if one government's just in charge. But yeah, I feel like the politics were overly complicated in the film. But again, I don't know if it's a true portrayal of how drones are used, how it always is a multi government operation. I'm going to analyze the film as a film, like as a whole. What it sort of did well was make us feel an attachment towards this young girl. But again, what it didn't do well, I would say, is it tells us that the young girl, it sort of makes us feel like more attached to her. Yeah, we see a scene of her playing with her hula hoop and having fun and trying to learn and get an education and improve. But what it doesn't show us is the fact of how evil these men and women are. Like, they clearly tell us on like what they have the potential to do, and they're the most wanted people, so we have to kill them. And it shows us, them using a suicide, trying to use a suicide vest. But I feel like it shows us a lot more of the attachment towards the young girl and how she's completely innocent. I feel like, viewers' opinion would significantly change if the film showed us the fact that how evil these men and women actually are. I feel like it just doesn't show us much of why these people are the most wanted people in the world. And I feel like viewers' opinions would again change if they knew how bad these people actually are. Because living in the West, you really just don't see how these people behave and how they act, and how crazy probably the fanaticism, I can't even use the word, is there. Film where it just convinced me that I needed to talk about it, or needed to express my views on it, because I want to see what you guys have also, what your guys' take is on the film. I would love to hear about all your opinions. I know this isn't something I normally put on the channel, but I don't know. I feel like this channel should be whatever it needs to be. Anyway, guys, have a nice day, and do watch the film if you can. I'll let you guys watch the final endings of the World Attacks commentary. Again, okay, guys, see you. Bye. Well, I think this is the best I could have done in this sort of matchup. Anyway, thanks for watching the gameplay, guys. It was a tough game, actually. Playing on this map, Paris. Very linear sort of map, and the only place I could go was to the field and defend the artillery. Which I think I did my job as well as I could have, really. Oh, we won my previous convoy game that I played as well. Yeah, 1400 damage. I think I've got a lot of experience in that game just because I was a light tank on a heavy tank map. But yeah, well played to this guy. 5k damage. 5k damage. Well played. Yeah, we just did our jobs. Artillery. Again, maybe I should not have defended them because they didn't do much damage. But it is a city map at the end of the day. They all died, so maybe I didn't do my job, lol. Okay, well thanks for watching the gameplay, guys, and have a nice day.